Hello, Kyle Ferroli here. I'd like to tell you about an idea that I've had for a very long time. And I have to say that I owe it to my kids because I've been watching them grow. One of them is 7, one of them is 12 at the time that I record this. And I look at myself and I look at them, and I remember when they were little and they would cry, I would immediately tend to them. And then they were toddlers and they'd cry, and I'd either scold them and say, "Now don't do that," or "Okay, Daddy will help." And then they got to be, kindergarten, first, second grade-ish. And then they started to get the mouth and they started telling you what they thought. And now my older one's almost a teenager. And I realized that there is a disconnect that happens. And it doesn't happen for everyone at the exact same time. But we go from being told we should use our words, we should tell people how we're doing instead of crying or yelling or screaming. But then we get older, past the age of my kids, and suddenly nobody cares. When I ask my kids how they are, I want an honest answer. But if I asked you how you were and I just met you, what would you tell me? You're fine, you're good, whether you are or aren't, because that's just what you're supposed to do. But I was one of those really weird kids who couldn't snap out of it, who was more emotional, who really enjoyed deep conversation with people, who hated to lie and say I'm fine when I knew I wasn't. But that's what the world wants you to do. So you start living a different life in a sense that you're disconnected. You may feel something deep down, but you put on that smiley face for everybody else. But sooner or later, you got to decide which person are you. You have to decide, am I this person inside that's going to blow up or implode one of these days? Or am I this picture-perfect person that posts everything on Facebook that my life's perfect? You got to see which one you are. Well, sooner or later, people do end up crashing, bottoming out, going to a doctor. And the problem with that is that the doctors aren't looking at your brain. So they're guessing on your symptoms, and symptoms overlap. There's a doctor in California, Daniel Amen, and he's done 80 or 90,000 scans. So he's got a pretty good idea of what he's looking at based on his tool. Whether his tool is accurate or not, that's up for discussion. But doing medical imaging on 80 to 90,000 people would give you a pretty good idea of what certain things are compared to what their symptoms are. And he's found 7 different patterns of anxiety and depression and 7 different patterns of ADD. That's pretty wild. I was in Vegas recently giving a talk, and it was called, "Are You Going to Gamble with Your Health?" And most people do. They go off their symptoms overlap, nobody's looking at the problem, and then you put pills and chemicals and drugs in your body. Sounds like disaster for some and success for others. I'm not against medicine. I love medicine. I'm not against traditional medicine. It's a very valued, important piece of the puzzle. If you're dying or having a heart attack, or you cut your arm off, or you roll over your foot with a lawnmower, don't come in here to learn how to breathe and have me check your brainwave activity. Go to the ER. But if it's mind-brain related, don't just take a pill. Don't just go in and talk to someone, because guess what? When you talk to someone and you're not ready to really work through it, you throw yourself back into that fight or flight response where your brain kind of freezes and you go into the mode of, what do you need to be able to do if you're being chased by a bear? You need to survive, that's it. And now you're paying someone by the hour to listen to you and help you, and you're not hearing anything they say. I have a mentor of mine. Her name's Dr. Ann Weston, and a wonderful lady. She gave up almost 2 years of her life every week. It was usually a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and we would talk. And she'd help me, personally and professionally. I wasn't her client, wasn't her patient, but I worked with her, and she was bringing me through the ranks, if you will. And I remember working through a couple things that were impacting my professional career for almost 2 years. And now I know why. Because I kept going into that fear mode and that fight or flight mode, and I'd never stop to really hear what she was saying. I was listening, but I wasn't really hearing it. The skill of listening was on, right? But you're not taking it in, processing it, because your brain's not running right, because you're throwing yourself into that panic mode. Now, looking back over the last 11 years that I've had my center, I've only seen 2 people that are healthy. I've worked with people coast to coast. They've flown in. So I'm talking about different cultures, different genders, different nationalities, different time zones, different personalities, different ages. Only 2 people are healthy. That's sad. I'm not one of them, by the way. I'm not one of those magic 2. I'd like to be, but I'm working on it myself, just like we all are. I don't know if these other 2 were artificially intelligent people or, like robots or what they were. But it's pretty wild to see somebody like react a certain way and not have a lot of brainwave activity that was dysregulated and not have a nervous system that wasn't jacked up like we all have because we push so hard and we do so much and we always have our devices by us to stay active. But some people are actually in that good zone. Not many. I want this to be transformational in a sense that you see that there's something else out there you may not know yet, but you can acquire. Reading the next book is not going to tell you what your brain's doing. Going and seeing a doctor and telling him your symptoms is going to tell you what your brain's doing. And your brain runs everything. So it's all in your head, but is it in your mind or your brain or both? That's our question. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I look forward to seeing you on a stage soon where I speak, or maybe more on the web videos, or maybe at the Center for Mind-Brain Balance in the Midwest. I'm Kyle Ferroli. Thanks for your time.